Greetings and welcome to Parsing John Internet. Today we're going to take a look at the Vulgate version of the text, chapter 1, verses 14 through to chapter 18. We're going to do this in 4 separate videos. Video 1 is going to be verse 14, video 2, verse 15. Video 3 is going to be verses 16 and 17, and the last video is going to be not chapter 18. We're going to do the entire chapter 18. No, just verse 18. All right, so we've got our rubric here in front of us, everything we're going to be looking for as we go through and parse the text. So remind yourself of that. Commit it to memory. Tattoo it to your brain. That would really hurt. If you're going to tattoo anything to your brain, though, you should definitely do Textus Rex. Everybody who ever reads anything should have that tattooed to their brain, as much as it would hurt. Yes, I do tell my students this too. Okay, so you may notice we have a new color. Probably won't stick to burgundy, whatever this is. But anyway, it'll help us later when we compare the Greek and Latin text. All right, so here we go, reading aloud. Et verbum caro factum est, et habitavit in nobis, et vidimus gloriam eius gloriam quasi unigeniti a patre plenum gratiae et veritatis. All right, so very first clause, you got et here, which means and this is something that we should take a special note of. You can write in B above it, nota bene, because this tells us that this this verse is connected closely to verse 13. So verse 13 doesn't just end completely and have nothing to do with what follows, but this entire next paragraph is also connected to verse 13. They are not separate ideas. The context of verse 13 and the preceding has also to do with verse 14 and the following. All right, our verb, factum est. We've seen this before multiple times. Put a bracket around that. Okay. Est here tells us that it is a third person and it is singular. Since there's 2 words here, we know it's going to be perfect, pluperfect, or future perfect. If we take a look at tells us that it is going to be neuter and nominative. Est tells us that it's perfect of those 3 tenses. It is, because there are 2 words here, passive or deponent, but this one is definitely not a deponent, and it is indicative. So no special clause there. And this one just means was become, has become, or just became. We're going to go with the easiest of the 3. B is an E, not an A. Came. All right. Now we need to find a singular neuter nominative subject. And we take a look at for us. I've got here. That is nominative, singular, and neuter. So there it is right there. But we also have caro. And caro is a word that I'm not very familiar with. Caronis, probably. It's going to be a third. If I remember correctly, and you know me in remembering, third declension words that end in O are usually going to be neuter. So I'm going to make that my assumption for this one. We know it's going to be nominative and singular. Probably neut. Put bracket around that just to show the uncertainty. So what we've got here is factum est is acting as a linking verb between verbum and caro. So this would make caro most likely our predicate. Okay, so we have 2 different ways of translating this. If I'm correct that this is a predicate, that's one. If I'm incorrect and verbum is actually the predicate, then that would be the other way. So we would translate this and word flesh. There we go. And option number 1, the word became flesh, or and flesh became word. Now, it should be very obvious right off the bat that option number 1 makes a lot more sense in English. So that's the one that we're going to go with and leave this word as our predicate. All right, moving on. And, okay, habitavit, or there's our verb immediately. Oh, we've got this wonderful little V there off of a first conjugation verb to tell us that this is perfect tense. Got the it, which confirms that, and that's going to be active and indicative. It makes it a third person singular. And this just means lived. or habitated with, which is a really awkward thing to say, so we're not going to do that. All right, and lived in nobis. You got a prepositional phrase before another and clause there. In is going to take the ablative here. So one cannot live into a place. If one could, then this would actually be nos, the accusative, but that still wouldn't make any sense. Ablative and plural by nature of this being from nos. And we don't really know the gender here. It could be masculine, feminine, not really neutered. That doesn't make any sense. So we're going to leave it blank. It's just generic us. And in this situation could mean either just in or among. And he lived in us. It's just kind of odd. So among us is going to be the better of the two options for translating this. Among us. All right. So far, so good. Vidimus. Imus there is going to be a first person plural. Since we've got that I there rather than an E, we know that this is perfect tense. And it is, of course, active and indicative. And we saw, sorry, I should put he, and we saw a direct object. We've got there, which is accusative singular feminine. So there's our object right off the bat. Nice and close. Glory. And we've got eius, got the J there. I between two vowels is normally going to be a J. So we know that this is from, down here, can you see? Yes, you can. Is, ea, id, eius, and so on and so forth. So we know that this is genitive. We could say of him or capitalize his glory. All right, so that finishes that clause. We've got a repetition of gloriam. It's interestingly still in the accusative, singular and feminine. And this might indicate to us that we can bring in that verb again, but we're not going to at the moment. Just repeat glory. Quasi. And we take a look up to here. We don't have another verb after us, so we're just going to have to go word by word. Quasi means just as. And there are a couple different options, but essentially it boils down to as. Okay, glory as unigeniti. E right there is going to be long. That's going to be genitive and singular masculine, or technically it could be nominative plural masculine, but no verb there means that we can't really tell. And a genitive, as we'll see in a bit, in context makes sense. All right, a patre, got a prepositional phrase. Oh, and this means of one born, or of only born, and if you prefer older English, begotten. We know this because we've got uni, which is a form of unus, and genit, which is from brain failure. Gens gentis, there we go. Which is normally race, clan, family, but that ultimately comes from I think the Greek word genao, to be born. All right, moving on. A patre, we could either have an ablative of agent here if we had a clear verb. Genit is sort of acting like a verb, but we can't really say that for certain. So location from which is going to be the better of our two options, just because we lack the context to support an agent. All right, and that's ablative, singular, masculine. We've got the E right there. Confirm ablative. So from father. All right, and our final clause, plenum. We've got either a nominative or an accusative singular there, and we would want to know what is this modifying. And so as we take a look back, it could be modifying the father. It's not going to modify glory. So our best option is actually verbum, which is neuter, singular. So that fits nominative, singular, neuter. Or it could be accusative, singular, masculine, or neuter. I'm going to lean more towards that one. And if it is in fact nominative, we would want to assume a verb est being the most likely one, since it is not 100% clear which one way or the other, I'm going to leave the verb out. All right, this word just means full or filled, and it takes the genitive and what it is full of. Take a look ahead. We got gratia. That's going to be genitive, singular, feminine, of grace. Et, just and. So we know that veritatis has to be the same sort of thing as gratiae is. Since there's nothing other than this word beyond here, it can't be connecting two clauses together. It has to connect these two related objects. And veritatis ends in is, which could be, without macrons to tell us one way or the other, a dative or ablative plural. But since I know the first principle, the nominative form of this, it's veritas, tells me that this is a third declension, so genitive, and also gratiae is genitive, singular, and feminine. And this means truth. All right, so there we go. We've gone through and parsed everything, and I hope this ink is working a little bit better for everybody. Let's go through our translation from the beginning. And word became flesh, and he, or it, lived among us. And we saw his glory just as of only born from a Father, full of grace and truth. Okay, there we go. I don't think there's anything else that we need to talk about in this passage. We already talked about what makes that up and why I translated that way, not just only. Yeah, I think we're good. So I hope taking a look at verse 14 has been as helpful to you as it has been to me. And remember, contextus rex. Don't actually do that to your brain. That would probably mentally damage you. Okay, well, have a good day.